So in the second appearance, the words do not appear together as a phrase, but which, interestingly enough, are merely mentioned in the same verse. You have both of those words. Tohu vavohu is actually three words, being uh, it's what we call a consecutive. It's a letter v, the vav, and a lot of times it's placed together with a word. We don't do that. We place it between words, like a conjunction, and or but. Uh, so so this is the vav consecutive, and we translate it and the v. And so so it says here we have the two words that are there. It's not tohu vavohu. It's not the three. It's just tohu and bohu. And so so it says, but the hawk and the porcupine shall possess it. In other words, the land that was once cities and stuff like that, now animals run there, and just the owl and the raven shall dwell in it. They're there because people aren't. And he shall stretch the line of confusion over it and the plumb line of emptiness. Now, he takes tohu and he interprets it confusion. So this is why when I converse with some people that hold or espouse the gap theory, they say the earth was in confusion and it was desolate. And they say God is not the author of confusion. But confusion really is not what we would call a good translation of the word. So yeah, if you study the word, confusion is not one of its definitions. And so this was an application right here in Jeremiah, but it's nowhere else is that word applied in such a manner. I could talk much more about grammatical application, but that's how it shows up, especially in the King James version. And so I don't think you're going to find that in all translations. But Schofield depended on the King James version, and the entire church, or the English-speaking church, that is. Most of my ministry is in Spanish, but the English-speaking church depended on the King James version almost solely for a long time, a couple of centuries probably, as their principal force of our source of scripture reading and preaching and teaching. So and so that helped spread that, but a more ample use of the word, probably confusion is not the choice interpretation of that. So we have that confusion and emptiness, and so Chalmers applied that and came up with his theory in that verse. Now, in this verse, the prophet Isaiah foretells of God's impending judgment over the nation of Edom. It's talking about Edom. And in this verse, the word tohu is poorly translated as confusion or chaos. And so that's not what it's talking about in Genesis chapter 1 and a further study. And in our third lesson, we'll look at that. So Dr. Chalmers applies that interpretation of tohu to Genesis chapter 1, verse 2, concluding that God is not the author of confusion. Therefore, it had to be Satan. And so we have to be talking about Satan's rebellion. That's what we call eisegesis in theological circles. As an exegete, the scriptures don't say that, but we read it into this, the interpretation of the scriptures, and it actually is injecting our own interpretation into it. That's what we call eisegesis, not exegesis. So Chalmers therefore concluded that it had to be Satan's rebellion that destroyed the first creation. He continues by postulating that what we have in Genesis 2 is God's second effort. And so, no, I don't agree with that. So, but respectfully so. Chalmers assumed rebellion, that supposedly the rebellion that supposedly took place between verses 1 and 2 of Genesis 1 is proven to be erroneous. Now I want to state this. We have to take a look at the scripture. But Chalmers assumed rebellion is contradicted by the scriptures without even looking into the Hebrew. Let's take a look at Ezekiel chapter 28, verses 11 to 18. We're just going to read a couple of verses there. But this passage clearly shows us that Lucifer was present in the Garden of Eden, and thus known. He was a known entity to Adam. This is before his fall. So let's take a look at this. You were in Eden, the garden of God. Every precious stone was your covering: sardius, topaz, diamond, beryl, onyx, and jasper, sapphire, emerald, and carbuncle. And the crafted gold were your settings and your engravings. On the day that you were created, they were prepared. That's verse 13. And in verses 14 and 15. You were an anointed guardian cherub. We're not talking about a human being here. We're talking about an angelic being. And he says he was in Eden. I placed you. You were on the holy mountain of God. In the midst of the stones of fire you walked. You were blameless in all your ways from the day that you were created until unrighteousness was found in you. So it's talking about Lucifer being in the Garden of Eden before he fell. And the Garden of Eden, we know, was created on the sixth day that we find in Genesis chapter 2. It talks about God creating the Garden of Eden on the sixth day. And so it was after the sixth day that Lucifer was there and well known in Eden. So that's a great flaw in Lucifer's rebellion, being even before the creation of man on the sixth day. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Follow me on my social media platforms, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Thank you for all of your support. God bless you.